Hi, this is Miss Erig, and we're going to go over A-CED-A, which is create equations that describe numbers or relationships. Now, this would be something to really understand because so far there have been 8 questions in the past 3 tests about this. So we're going to start with question number 34. Question number 34 is a 4-point question, and it's from the June 2014 test. A rectangular garden measuring 12 meters by 16 meters is to have a walkway installed around it with a width of x meters, as shown in the diagram below. Together, the walkway and the garden will have an area of 396 meters. So it wants us to write an equation that can be used to find x, the width of the walkway. So we know that from this point, let's do this one here, to here, because it's a rectangle, we know that this is 12 meters. Okay, so because of that, this entire thing needs to be 12 meters, but we're also going to have x and x. So 12 plus x, which is going to be 12 plus 2x. That's what this whole thing is. Because this to here is 12, plus this is x, plus this is x. So we get 12 plus 2x. Same thing across here. Here's our 16 meters, but this is also x, and this is also x. So our entire one would be 16 plus 2x. Now we know the total area of this rectangle and with the walkway is 396. So our equation is going to be, well, let's think, area equals length times width. So it'll be 396 equals 12 plus 2x times 16 plus 2x. Now, how did we get that? Well, what we can do is say, please look at diagram, because we did a good job explaining. And we can also say that area equals length times width okay. Now they want us to determine and state the width of the walkway in meters. So I'm going to just move this down so you get a better view. And because it doesn't say to do it algebraically, I'm going to show you how to do it graphically, which is what I prefer. So we're going to talk about how we can do this graphically. First, we have to write down our equation. I'm showing it to you graphically because it's so much easier graphically. Okay. Now what we need to do is, before we can do it graphically, we have to make this equal to 0. So I'm just going to write minus 396. Okay, this comes off. We're left with 0 equals 12 plus 2x, 16 plus 2x, minus 396. Because this is now in one variable, there's only x's, and it equals 0, I can plug this into my calculator. So I'm going to go over here, okay, I'm going to type this in exactly. First I'm going to turn it on. I need to go to y equals, I'm going to type in parentheses, 12 plus 2x, close the parentheses, do my parentheses again for the 16 plus 2x, close that parentheses, and now do the minus 36. I'm sorry, minus 396. Now we're going to look at the table. So we're going to go to second. Here's the word table, which is really the graph button. And we're looking for what are the values when y equals 0. So we already see right here. At 3, it's 0. And we know it goes all the way down, it hits 0, and then it goes back up. So what we need to write down is we plugged equation into Calc and determine zeros. So we know that 1 is at 3, and now we have to find our other 0. So we're going to go this way. So because here it's negative, negative 0 up, so we know that there's got to be another one. So I'm going to keep going until I see another 0. Ooh, right here, negative 17. Now here's the catch. Because it wants the width, we can't have negative 17, so we need to cross this out and hit reject. Okay, so our answer is the walkway, whoops, is 3 meters. So I'm going to just say real quick one more time what I did. Once we hit our equation, I set it equal to 0. Because it said equal to 0, I can plug it into the calculator and look for what the answer is when y equals 0. So we did that. We got negative 17, 0. And when I hit the down arrow, I get positive 3. Whoops. Because we can't have a negative walkway, that's why this has to be at 3, and we have to reject negative 17. The Regents will want you to see that you wrote reject here. Okay, so make sure that you somehow specify that the answer has to be positive. Right? Okay, that's the end of that question. Well, let's go on to the next one. Got a lot for here. So this is question A-CED, June 2014, question number 36. All right. The animal shelter. Look up if you could see it, huh? Let's fix it for you. All right. An animal shelter spends $2.35 per day to care for each cat and $5.50 per day to care for each dog. Pat noticed that the shelter spent $89.50 to care for the cats and dogs on Wednesday. Write an equation to represent the possible number of cats and number of dogs that could have been at the shelter on Wednesday. First, we have to specify our variables. So I'm going to just say, let C equal the number of cats. And you really should say, not just write cats, but the number of cats, because otherwise they'll be like, what do you mean? D equals the number of dogs. Okay. So we know that she spent $2.35 per cat. So what could I write? Well, I could write $2.35. If I write per cat, all I'm going to do is write the letter C. And I'm going to add $5.50. What do you think the letter could be? D, for dog. And that together has to equal $89.50. Now, Pat said there might have been 8 cats and 14 dogs at the shelter on Wednesday. Are Pat's numbers possible? So first we're going to write our equation. And this time I'm going to teach you how to use the test function of the calculator. But before we do that, let's write in and substitute in 8 cats and 14 dogs. Okay, and I'm going to say used test on Calc. And let me show you how to do that. Well, first we're going to clear our screen. So we're going to go to Second, Quit, and we get to our screen. Now we're going to type everything in. So we'll do 235, parentheses, 8, plus 550, parentheses, 14. Now here's the test thing. We know our math button because that's where the fractions are. The test is we just hit second to get to it. So second math will give us test. There's our equal sign, so I'll just hit enter. We want to know if it equals 89.50. So after I do that, I'm going to hit enter. Now if I get a 0, the answer is no, and if I get a 1, the answer is yes. So because I got a 0, I'm just drawing an arrow, 0, so no. Okay? And we would say no, Pat's numbers are not possible. Whoops. Now it wants us to find out this next piece. It says Pat found a recording showing that there were a total of 22 cats and dogs on Wednesday. How many cats were in the shelter? Well, so now we know that C plus D equals our 22. I'm going to subtract the dogs, so I get cat by itself. And now we'll take our original equation and instead of writing C, I'm going to put this in. So we have 235 times 22 minus d plus 550 d equals 8950. Then on my calculator, let's do 235 times 22, because we have to distribute that 235, and we get 5170 minus 235d plus 550d equals 8950. Now we're going to do our negative 235d plus our 550, and that's going to equal 315d. So now I have 5170 plus 315d equals 8950. I'm going to subtract 5170 from 8950, and I get 3780. Notice how I'm just not saying the 0. That's totally fine, because there's no 0 after the 8. And now we have to divide that number by 315, and we get d equals 12. So that's how many dogs there are, right? But we need to find out how many cats there are. So c equals 22 minus 12, c equals 10. Okay, there were 10 cats. All right, got another big one done. That was a 4-pointer. Let's go on to the next one. Another 4-pointer. Okay. Let's go up here. The formula for the area of a trapezoid. Oh, let's see if we can put this a little bit better. The formula for the area of a trapezoid is A equals 1/2 height times B1 plus B2. We are trying to find B1 in terms of everything else. So this is what's important. So here's our area equals 1/2 height times base 1 plus base 2. We're trying to get this by itself, so first we have to get rid of this 1/2. We need to do the opposite of dividing by 1/2, which is multiplying. And whatever we do to one side, we do to the next. So 2a equals height times b1 plus b2. Now we still are trying to get here, so we have to get rid of this h. So we're going to divide both sides by h. So now we're left with 2a over h equals b1 plus b2. And this is what we want to get, so we're going to do the opposite of this. So we're going to subtract by b2. And our big final equation is 2a divided by h minus b2. That's going to equal our base 1. Okay. Now we're going to use that to help us with the next part of the question. So we have 2a divided by height minus base 2 equals base 1. So here we know our area is 60. So I'm going to do 2 times 60. The height is 6 divided by 6. One of the bases is 12 equals B1. Oops. 2 times 60 is 120. 120 divided by 60 is 20. And I'm going to be left with 8 equals base 1. So the other feet, we're going to say 8 feet. The other base is 8 feet. And we're done. That one was easier. That was 4 points. Here is another 4-point question. It's from the August 2014 test. So the August 2014 test, question number 36. A school is building a rectangular soccer field. Okay? Oh, that got crooked really quick. Let's see. There we go. A school is building a rectangular soccer field. So as soon as it says the word rectangle, what am I going to do? Draw a rectangle that has an area of 6,000 square yards. The soccer field must be 40 yards longer than its width. So I'm going to say x equals the width, and 40 yards longer. So that means the length is to equal x plus 40. Determine algebraically the dimensions of the soccer field. Okay. Well, we know that area equals length times width, or width times length. So we have A equals LW. So 6,000 equals x times x plus 40. Now I'm going to have my 6,000 again. Distribute, boom, boom, because I want us to solve it algebraically. And before I can do anything, I have to subtract 6,000 from both sides, because we can't solve it algebraically when it's a quadratic and linear, unless it's set equal to 0. So basically what we need to do is, most kids are going to prefer to do the quadratic formula. And I'm going to show you that way. But first I'm going to show you another way. So we're going to write 1, 40, and negative 6,000. And basically we need to come up with, I'm going to do it two ways. So this will be the quadratic formula way. And this will be reverse factor. Okay, so we're trying to think of, I said reverse factor, I meant reverse Punnett square. Sorry. Okay. So we're trying to think of which numbers can go into these boxes and then above it. So we know that here it has to be negative 6,000, but they have to add together to get 40. Because that has to be A times C, and here it's B. We know the x squared goes here, so this has to be x and x. And we know the negative 6,000 goes here. Now, because this is a 40, and because this has the zeros, I'm just going to think of tens and multiply by tens to try to get the 40. So I'm going to do negative 6,000 times 1, or plus 1. Well, that would give us negative 599. So that's not going to help. And now we actually know the bigger number has to be positive. So there we go. Now let's do 6,000 divided by, oops, well, that's fine. Let's do 6,000 divided by negative 10 and negative 10. So we have 600 and negative 10. When I do that, I get 590. So that won't help me. Now I'm going to do this divided by 20. So I'm going to do 6,000. Let me just show you on the calculator instead. Here's our 6,000 that it has to be all together. First I'm going to divide it by 10, so I get 610. That's not going to work. Now I'm going to do 6,000, but this time I'm going to divide by 20. And divide by 20, I get 300. So that means this would be positive 300 and negative 20, which would give me 280. I'm trying to get 40. So now I'm going to do 6,000 in essence divided by 3, but because I'm doing it by tens, I'm going to divide it by 30. When I do that, I get 200. So now I have 200, and I have negative 30, and when I combine it, I get 170. So now I'm going to see if I can do 6,000 divided by 40. And I get 150. So we have 150, negative 40, that combines to 110. So these numbers are getting smaller. We're trying to get it to 40. So now I'm going to do 6,000 divided by 50. And all I'm doing is, normally I would divide by 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Because of these extra zeros, I'm dividing by tens. So I get 120. Here's my 120 and my negative 50 for 70. Now I'm going to do 6,000 divided by 60. And get 100. Negative 60, positive 40. So now I know, because these are just x's, these numbers go in these boxes. So it doesn't matter which one you put it in. I'm putting 100x here, negative 60x here. So that means that this is going to be x minus 60, x plus 100, because x times what number will give you negative 60x. X times what number will give you 100x. So now I have x minus 60 times x plus 100. Set each one equal to 0. Now I have to simplify. add 860 to both sides, subtract 100 from both sides. This one I'm going to reject, so my answer is 60. Now it wants the dimensions, so now I have to do x plus 40. 60 plus 40 equals 100. So there we go, 60 and a 100. And I did this, I got the x plus 40 from the top. So that's one way. Some people don't like that way because hopefully most of you would have figured this out quick, but you might not have. So I'm going to go back up here and show you the other way. Here's our quadratic formula. Okay, it's going to be x equals the opposite of b plus or minus radical b squared minus 4ac all over 2a. So on my calculator, I'm going to just type in everything underneath the radical. And actually, if you really want to be brave, I'm not going to show you that way. Let's just do this way. So we have 40 squared minus 4 times 1. Notice I'm putting in parentheses. Times negative 6,000. Whoops. Hit enter. So now I know this is going to be 25,600. Now I need to take the square root of that. So I'm going to hit second square root, 25600. X equals negative 40 plus 160 divided by 2. X equals negative 40 minus 160 divided by 2. Because it's a fraction, when I put it in the calculator, I have to put the numerator in parentheses. So here's my negative 40 plus 160, parenthesis, divided by 2. Get 60. Parenthesis, negative 40 minus 160, parenthesis, divided by 2. That's my negative 100. This one I'm still going to reject. I still have to do 60 plus 40 equals 100 to get my other one. Okay, so either way, it's a lot of writing. This is a 4-point question. All right, wow, that was 22 minutes just for that. We still got 4 more left, halfway through. Okay, here we go. This is question number 37. This one's actually a lot easier than it looks. It's a 6-pointer. Of course, I forgot my straight edge again. Way to go, Miss Erig. Here we go. Edith babysits for X hours after school. So babysit is X. She makes $4 per hour. So I'm going to do $4. Okay. She accepted a job that pays $8 as a library assistant. So library is Y for $8. She will work both jobs. She's able to work no more than 18 hours a week, and she wants to work at least $80. So we have let X equal her number of hours babysitting. We're going to have Y equals the number of hours at the library. So if she can work no more than 15, we know that X plus Y has to be something with 15. So is it going to be, has to be greater than or equal to or less than? Well, if she can work no more, that means 15 is the most, so it's going to get the bigger sign, and we'll have the line. Now it says, because she could also work 15, she wants to make it at least 80. So we're going to take our 4 times our X plus our 8 times our Y, and she wants to make at least 80, so it's going to be big like that. 80. That's our system. Now it wants us to graph it. I love graphing. Before we can graph it, we have to set each one of these equal to Y equals. So we're going to do, for our first one, we're going to subtract X from both sides. So our equation will be X, oh wow, Y is less than or equal to 15 minus X. So because we're graphing, guess what I like? I like to do it on the calculator. So I'm going to go to Y equals, hit clear to clear that stuff out, 15 minus X. And we want to have Y values that are less than that. I'm going to go over to the left, and I'm going to put the triangle that's less than, which is on the bottom. That's the triangle on the top for greater than. That's the triangle on the bottom for less than. Okay, so I'm going to hit second table. So I can see my points, and I know my points start at 0. And then we have 15, 14, 13, 12, all the way down. So here we go to 6, 0, up to 15, 12, 13, 14, 15, and then they just go down in a straight line. Okay. Now because it's or equal to, when I do this graph, I'm going to have a solid line. Okay. And here, I'm just going to label it y is less than or equal to 15 minus x. So I want y values that are less than this line. If I want, I can hit graph on my calculator. Ooh! We still have my box and whisker plot, don't we? Let's turn that off real quick. Second stat plot. See how that says on? I'm going to hit enter. Go to the arrow key to turn it off. Now let's go to zoom. 6 to go put it normal, and let's see. Well, that's unhelpful. There we go. Now we can see where we're shading. Okay? So all this area here gets shaded in. And truly, on your test, you're doing this in pencil. I'm just using my pen. Now we need to do the next one. So we have our 4x plus 8y has to be greater than or equal to 80. We want y by itself, so we'll subtract 4x. These cancel. 8y is greater than or equal to negative 40 plus 80. Ooh! Where am I going? That should be negative 4x. My bad. Negative 4x plus 80. Divide everything by 8. Y is greater than or equal to negative 4/8 x, which is really negative 1/2 x, plus 10. And this is my other equation I need to graph. So I'm going to go in my calculator. Y equals, clear that baby out. Now I'm going to put in, it wants y values greater, so I'm going to go over here and put y values greater, which means the triangle's on the top. I'm going to go over and type it, the negative 1/2 in parentheses. X. Remember, anytime we put fractions in the calculator, it's in parentheses. Plus 10. Go to my table. All right, 0, 10. Let's look at the next pretty point. 2, 9. Over 2, up 9. 4, 8. And there's our pattern. Now oops, that was bad. That's the one I want. Wow, I'm having a hard time, aren't I? Maybe I should have used a pencil. There you go. Perfect. I'll have this line. That doesn't have an arrow. There we go. That just stops there. I don't know why I drew an arrow. I think I've got anxiety. Anyway, all right, that ends there. This one is y equals, it's greater than or equal to negative 1/2 x plus 10. And now I have to shade this one. Ooh, it says greater than. Wow, clearly I need to shade this differently so you can see it, because I just made another mistake. I don't want to do the whole video again, so I'm not going to. But this says y values greater than. And what I forgot to show you is this. Look at. All I needed to do was go to my graph. There's that first line. Oops, that's the new line. And look at where it was shaded. All up top. Okay? So this section right here on the graph, that I'm going to make it much darker, that's the solution set. So anything she does inside here, she'll be happy because she'll have values, she'll work less than 15 hours and make the most money. Okay? So let's see where we can do that. Now we go to number 37 here. And it wants us to look at our graph and come up with one combination that will earn at least 80 and more than 15. So, because we know here, what I should have labeled is this is babysit, and this is the library. Now we just find a point in here. So I'm just going to pick this point. So that means she did 3 hours babysitting and 10 hours at the library. Okay, so here I can write 310. So 3 hours babysitting. I'll say she can work. And 10 hours at the library. And there you go. Well, I screwed up our shading on there, but all the more reason hit graph so you can double check your answers. Okay? Well, that was 37. No wonder it was a 6-point question. Let's go on to the next one, which is question number 31 on the January exam. This was a 2-point question, and it's really easy, but most kids made a really silly mistake. So let's see if we can do better than that. A gardener is planting 2 types of trees. Type A grows 3 feet at 15 inches per year. Type B is 4 feet at 10 inches per year. So, because this is feet and inches, we cannot write our equations. Okay? What we have to do is we have to make this into inches first. Well, I know 3 feet times 12 inches in each foot will give me 36 inches. 4 times 12 will give me 48. Now I can just write my equations. We know that type A is going to be 36 plus 15 inches per year. And you know what? I'm just going to write here x equals years. Type B is 48 plus 10 per year. And we want to know how many years it's at the same height. Same is equal. Okay? So now I'm just going to write 36 plus 15x equals 48 plus 10x. Subtract 10x from both sides. We get 36 plus 5x equals 48. Subtract 36 from both sides. 5x equals 12. Divide both sides by 5. X equals 2.4 years. Man, I like that one a lot better. Okay. Next question. Number 33. 2 more left. This is a long video and a lot of math, but you're doing great. Number 33 is a 4-pointer. Okay. Jacob and Zachary go to the movie theater and purchase refreshments for their friends. Good friends. Jacob spends $18.25, 2 bags of popcorn, and 3 drinks. Zachary spends $27.50 on 4 bags of popcorn and 2 drinks. So write a system of equations. So the thing that repeats are popcorn and drinks. So I'm going to have P equals popcorn. And here P equals the cost of the popcorn, because that's what we're trying to figure out. D equals the cost of a drink. Okay, so we know here that we have 2 bags of popcorn plus 3 times the number of drinks equals the $18.25 that Jacob spent. And that 4 bags of popcorn plus 2 drinks is what the $27.50 that Zachary spent. So now we're going to use our equations. We need to determine the price of each drink to the cents. So, easiest way to do this is elimination. So I'm going to take this first equation, and for elimination to work, I need to be able to cancel this. So I'm going to multiply this original equation by -2 so I can cancel a variable. So I'm going to make this times -2. So -2 times 2 is going to be -4p. -2 times 3d be -60. -2 times 18.25. I don't feel like doing in my head. 18.25 times -2, -36.50. Okay, now I'm going to write this next equation underneath it. Now I'm just going to add them up. Those will cancel. I'll be left with -4d equals, well, you know what? Let's just do it in the calculator. -36.50 plus 27.50. -$9. Okay, divide -9 by 4. Excuse me, by -4. $2.25 for 1 drink. So that's what we want to know for the drink. We did that, but we still have to find our popcorn. So just pick any equation. and substitute in $2.25 for the drinks. Well, you're left with 2p equals $6.75. Why did I put equal sign? I meant plus. Subtract $6.75. So we're going to do $18.25 minus $6.75, $11.50. Divide both sides by 2. P equals $5.75. Okay, so we can do drinks are $2.25. Popcorn is $5.75. Whew, 4-pointer. Okay. Next question, last one. New Clarendon Park is undergoing renovations to its garden. This is 6-pointer. One garden that was originally a square. I heard a shape, so I'm going to draw it. This is math modeling. Is being adjusted so that one side is double the length while the other side is decreased by 3 meters. The new rectangular garden, there we go. So here's my original side is going to be x. So we know x times x. Perfect. Well, x times x to get my area will have to equal x squared. Now my new one, it says the rectangular garden is going to have an area that's 25% more than this one. So if it's 25% more, think of the A-CED formula, so I know it's going to be the whole thing plus another 25%. So that means this is going to be 1.25 times the area here. Okay? Or 1.25x squared, either one. And it says that this is going to be double the length of this one, and the other side is decreased by 3. That wants us to write the equation, so we already pretty much have it. We know that 1.25x squared has to equal 2x times x minus 3. Okay? And then you can say, please view model above. And then you can write original garden had an area of x squared. New garden is 1.25x squared. And you can leave it like that. That's enough because we did a great job with our models. Okay. Now it wants us to actually determine the area. So we're going to rewrite our formula that we did up here. 1.25x squared equals 2x times x minus 3. Let's solve it. We've got to distribute first. So we have 1.25x squared equals 2x squared minus 6x. We have to make this equal to 0. So subtract 1.25x squared. This will cancel. Okay. Now we can just factor out the x. And now we solve. X equals 0. And then here, add 6 to both sides. I'm not doing this in my head. I want to say 9, but I could be so off right now. It's been a long day. 8. Good thing I used the calculator. X equals 8. Now that's what this side is. So we know area equals x squared. So the area is going to equal, oops, well, that works. 8 squared. Our area is going to equal 64. This is for our small garden. Now we need to do 1.25 times that. Wow, you didn't get to see any of that. So now I'll have area equals 1.25 times x squared. 1.25 times 8 squared. Let's just type it right in the calculator. 1.25 parentheses 8 parentheses squared. How? 80. And that is our answer. Well, this was probably our longest video. We just finished doing A-CED-A, create equations that describe numbers of relationships. All right, great job sticking with it, everyone. You rock.